tender corruption isn't chaos, it's choreography. A government announces a tender and publicly it's about service delivery, but privately it's already owned. The winner isn't announced at the end of the process, they're already selected at the beginning. So the specifications are written like a log, and only one company has the key. Now the real dance begins. A businessman, let's call him a tenderpreneur, doesn't fix roads or electricity or deliver textbooks. No, they build relationships. He knows which official is underpaid, which politician is ambitious, which committee member needs school fees handled quietly. Money moves, but never directly, and that would be sloppy. Listen, the money flows through consulting fees, subcontracting layers, and family members with suddenly successful companies. By the time the contract is awarded, everyone has already been paid. And the contract itself is inflated. It's always inflated, mainly because it's not just paying for the service, it's paying the politician who approved it, the official who signed it, the middleman who arranged it, and the silence of everyone who noticed. So let's say a project or a contract that costs 10 million rand suddenly becomes 50 million rands. And then the final act, my personal favorite, delivery, or rather the illusion of it. Half-built roads, non-functional clinics, schools without textbooks. The work is always substandard or never completed at all. But when it comes to the paperwork, it's impeccable. It's signed, it's stamped, it's audited into fiction. And whenever somebody asks about this, they discredit them. They drown them in bureaucracy. Because unfortunately, in this system, corruption isn't just a bug, it's a business model.
Everyone loves to talk about the corruption and who gets the tenders, but we rarely ever talk about who approves those tenders, because that's where the real power and the real problem usually sits. So let's break down how it's supposed to work in South Africa step by step. First, we have the bid committees. There are 3 levels inside of every department. The bid specification committee decides what is needed. The bid evaluation committee scores all the bids. The bid adjudication committee makes the final call. These are the first people that can either make or break a fair tender. Next come the internal checkers. After that, the internal audit unit and the accounting officer must confirm that everything follows proper rules under the PFMA or the MFMA. They check for conflict of interest, missing documents, or fake compliance. After the internal checkers have done their part, next comes the provincial and national treasury. The national treasury and each provincial treasury are supposed to watch over the big tenders. If something smells off, they can step in, review it, and even stop it. Then comes the Audit General of South Africa. Every year, Auditor General goes through government spending, checking if tenders were legal or irregular. If there's waste or fraud, it gets flagged in the official audit report. Then we get the investigators and watchdogs. When things get serious, it's handed to the Hawks, the SIU, the Public Protector, or even the NPA. They dig into the corruption, fake companies, and political connections behind dodgy contracts. And you're probably wondering, where do we fit into all of this? Well, the last step is us, the public eye. Every tender is meant to be public on the National Treasury e-tender portal. Civil groups and journalists like OUTA and Corruption Watch use that info to expose irregular deals. So next time someone says, look who got the tenders, ask instead, who signed off on those tenders and who sat on that committee? That's where the accountability needs to start.
Also a tender, and then suddenly they are an overnight millionaire. And it sparks the thought in my mind, do government tenders create lazy millionaires overnight and there's no long-term impact? I'm talking here as a third party because I've never tried to apply for a tender. I want to though. But I don't know the exact process. I've heard that it takes a lot out of you. And I've also heard people describe this as an overnight money grab scheme. And it seems to be a pattern with tenderpreneurs where they get their riches, they live the life, things are good for a while and suddenly it all goes downhill. And that's where my narrative of not creating a long-term impact comes from. Honestly, I have this thought and I have not come up with a solution. And maybe I'm not the person to come up with a solution. Or maybe I'm just exposed to the people that have negative results. If you are a tenderpreneur out there with a long-term impact, you did well, still doing well, and will continue to do well, come forward. What is your secret?
The biggest scam in South African business is how we've been programmed to believe tenders are the pinnacle of entrepreneurship. I even saw a video of Casper Nyovest saying the only way to make $1 billion in revenue is through working with the government. And that right there, Bafetu, shows how deep the programming runs. Because if your whole business model depends on waiting for government contracts, you are not in business. You are a professional beggar in a suit. A tender doesn't prove you've built value. It proves you've built connections. And the moment those connections dry up, your business dies with them. That's why most so-called companies vanish the moment tender money stops. No systems, no products, no loyal customers, just high invoices. We've created a generation that worships tenders instead of building industries, that waits for approval instead of creating demand. Until we break that mindset, we'll never build businesses that outlive us, because legacy isn't built on favors. Legacy is built on products, systems, and customers who'd pay you even if government didn't exist.